One more stand. Chapter 1. The Ghosts We Carry. The scars on my hands never fade, not even after 47 years. They're the first thing I notice as I adjust the thin fabric of my coat against the evening chill. Pale, jagged lines crisscrossing skin that's grown loose and spotted with age. These hands once built barricades, once held weapons, once shaped a revolution. Now they just carry bags of government-rationed food. I shift my meager groceries to my other arm as I trudge through streets I used to walk with pride. The market is closing earlier these days. The Peacekeepers had announced another curfew reduction this morning, 7 p.m. instead of 8, blaring their message through the neighborhood speakers. For your protection, they'd said. Always for our protection. A gleaming drone hovers at the intersection, its corporate logo, Sentinel Securities, keeping peace for a brighter tomorrow, catching the dying afternoon light. It watches me with its unblinking eye as I shuffle past. I don't look up. Looking up is asking for trouble. "Citizen," the drone's speakers crackle, "curfew begins in 57 minutes. Please proceed directly to your designated residence." I nod without raising my eyes. 47 years ago, I'd have shot that thing out of the sky without hesitation. 47 years ago, I was 19 and believed we could actually win, that we could build something better. What fools we were. The market square is emptying quickly, vendors packing up their sparse offerings under the watchful gaze of armored peacekeepers. There are more of them today, their black exoskeletons glinting with embedded cameras and shock batons pulsing with blue energy. Something must have happened in another district. It's always like this after an incident. I pass beneath a massive view screen displaying President Collins' latest address. He's been president for 15 years now, ever since Next Gen Consolidated bought the naming rights to the Electoral Commission. Our great republic stands stronger than ever. His artificially enhanced voice booms across the square. Thanks to corporate innovation, citizen compliance, and the vigilance of our peacekeepers, we maintain the freedom our forefathers fought for. I almost laugh. I knew those forefathers. I was one of them. This wasn't what we fought for. The screen transitions to a recruitment advertisement for peacekeeper cadets. Young faces with empty eyes promise security, stability, and career advancement. The final frame displays Next Gen's slogan, "The future is what we make it." Below, in smaller text, Next Gen, proud sponsor of democratic security since 2031. I remember when corporations just made things, not governments. A disturbance ripples through the market as a vendor argues with a peacekeeper over his closing time. I keep my head down and pick up my pace. Nothing good comes from watching. Nothing good comes from remembering how things used to be either, but I can't seem to stop doing that. The housing block where I live, where I'm permitted to exist, rises like a crumbling monument to forgotten promises. Once called Victory Housing, built for veterans of the People's Reformation War, it's now just another decaying structure in the outer ring. The elevator hasn't worked in 6 years. The water runs brown 3 days a week, but my veteran's pension doesn't qualify me for anything better. As I climb the stairs to the 8th floor, my knee aches with each step. Another souvenir from the Revolution, a corporate enforcer's bullet that the field medic couldn't completely extract. Sometimes I think I can still feel it moving in there, working its way closer to bone. I pass Mrs. Rivera on the 5th floor landing. She's ancient, probably fought in the war too, though we never discuss it. Speaking about the Revolution in anything but approved terms is classified as seditious nostalgia. "Curfew's earlier," I warn her. She nods, eyes darting to the camera in the corner of the stairwell. "For our protection," she murmurs, the irony barely detectable. We share a glance that says more than words could. Then she continues down, and I continue up. That's how it is now. Brief acknowledgments of a shared history that's been rewritten by the victors. Not the victors we thought we'd be. My apartment is small, sterile, and cold. The heating only works during approved hours, and even then, just barely. I set my grocery bag on the counter and begin unpacking. Synthetic protein cubes, vitamin-enriched bread substitute, a small bottle of filtered water. A feast by current standards. My veteran's pension at least guarantees basic nutrition, unlike what regular citizens receive. The wall screen flickers on automatically at 1800 hours, mandatory viewing hour. A cheerful announcer recounts the day's corporate achievements and security updates. I half listen while putting away my food. And thanks to Peacekeeper intervention, a seditious gathering in the Western Commons was successfully dispersed. Remember, citizens, unauthorized assemblies threaten everyone's security. Western Commons. That explains the increased Peacekeeper presence. I wonder how many were killed this time. The official reports never mention casualties, only dispersals. I turned to the window, looking out at the city that was supposed to be our triumph. The corporate heights glow with wealth and power, gleaming headquarters reaching toward the clouds, their logos brighter than stars. The productive zones house the useful citizens, the ones with skills the corporations need. Out here in the outer ring, we're just legacy problems, remnants of a messier time. Beyond us lies the perimeter, where those without citizen status scavenge and survive. We don't talk about them either. The mandatory broadcast ends with the loyalty pledge. I mouth the words without speaking them, another small defiance no one will ever notice. I reach into the cabinet above my sink, behind the stack of regulation dishware, and find the bottle of grain alcohol that passes for whiskey these days. Real whiskey is for corporate executives. I pour 2 fingers into a chipped mug and carry it to my worn armchair by the window. The scars on my hands look worse in this light. I flex my fingers, remembering what they've done, how they once built barricades from overturned vehicles and furniture, how they bandaged the wounds of fellow fighters, how they held weapons with purpose and conviction, how they pulled the trigger that killed General Reynolds, the shot that turned the tide of the people's Reformation, the shot that was supposed to set us free. Instead, we just replaced one master with another. The corporation stepped in during the Reconstruction, offering resources, structure, security. By the time we realized what was happening, they'd already rewritten the Constitution. Corporate stewardship for a stable democracy. Elections became procedural theater, dissent became sedition, and veterans like me became uncomfortable reminders. I sipped the harsh liquid, welcoming the burn. At least it's real, unlike almost everything else in this republic. The street below my window darkens as the sun sets. Citizens hurry toward their homes, eyes on the pavement, all keeping the proper distance from one another. Conversation in public is discouraged. It might lead to unauthorized assembly. I watch them, these inheritors of what we thought would be freedom, and try to remember what hope felt like. It's been so long. Movement at the edge of my vision catches my attention. In the narrow alley between housing blocks, someone is doing something to the wall. I lean closer to the glass. It's a young woman, maybe mid-20s, glancing nervously over her shoulder as she sprays something onto the crumbling concrete. Graffiti. Actual, illegal graffiti. I almost can't believe it. Nobody does that anymore. The penalties are too severe. Anti-sedition laws classify unauthorized public messaging as terror activity. I've seen people disappear for less. Yet there she is, working quickly, her movements suggesting this isn't her first act of defiance, though her obvious fear marks her as an amateur. Before I can make out what she's writing, I'm already on my feet, heading for the door. I don't know why. I should mind my own business. I should stay in my apartment like a good, compliant citizen. Instead, I find myself descending the stairs, my old knee protesting, but my heart beating with an urgency I haven't felt in decades. I emerge onto the street just as she's finishing. The words leap out against the gray wall. Liberty is a right, not a gift. My breath catches. Those were our words. From the revolution. From before. She doesn't notice me at first, too focused on her work and watching for peacekeepers. When she finally turns and sees me standing there, she freezes, spray can still in hand. Terror flashes across her face. She knows what happens to people caught doing what she's doing. She's waiting for me to shout, to call for peacekeepers, to condemn her. That's what good citizens do. Instead, I give her a tired nod, a ghost of the man I used to be. I see confusion replace fear in her eyes, then something else. Recognition, not of me personally, but of something in me, some remnant of the revolutionary I once was. I walk past her without a word, but something has changed. Something has awakened. In the distance, a patrol drone's engines whine as it rounds the corner. The young woman disappears down the alley, her message left behind like a spark in darkness. I continue my walk as if nothing happened, as if I didn't just witness the first act of public defiance I've seen in years. But my hands are trembling now, and not from age. Back in my apartment, I can't stop thinking about the girl and her message, about the look in her eyes, fear mixed with determination. How long has it been since I've seen that combination? Since I've felt it? The wall screen drones on with its evening propaganda, but I'm not listening. Instead, I move to my closet, pushing aside threadbare clothes to reach the hidden panel at the back. My fingers find the familiar groove, and the false wall comes loose with a soft click. Behind it, wrapped in plastic and hidden for decades, lies a faded red flag bearing the clenched fist symbol of the People's Reformation. I brush my fingers against it, remembering when we raised it over the Capitol building, the day we thought we'd won. Beside the flag sits an old paper photograph, its edges worn. 8 faces grin back at me, the core of my revolutionary cell: Marco, Elena, Darius, Sophia, June, Raphael, Layla, and me. Only I'm still alive. The official history doesn't mention them. It doesn't mention any of us by name. We created a better world today, Darius had said when we stormed the general's compound. We just have to make sure it stays that way. We failed him, failed all of them. I carefully return the photograph and flag to their hiding place. Then I reach deeper into the compartment, fingers searching until they touch cold metal. The pistol is old, but maintained. I've cleaned it every month for 47 years, though I've never planned to use it. It was just a connection to who I used to be, a reminder. I withdraw my hand without taking the weapon. Not yet. The wall screen switches to emergency broadcast tone, startling me. The announcer's voice is clipped, professional. Attention citizens of Outer Ring, Zone East 12. Due to increased seditious activity, enhanced security measures are now in effect. Curfew is immediately revised to 1900 hours until further notice. Peacekeepers have been authorized to conduct random loyalty verifications. Remember, reporting suspicious behavior qualifies you for loyalty discounts on essential supplies. The timing can't be coincidence. They must have spotted the graffiti already. The girl, is she safe? Did she make it home before they tracked her? I shouldn't care. I've spent decades not caring, not getting involved. It's how I've survived. Yet I find myself moving to the window again, scanning the streets below. Peacekeeper patrols are already more visible, their armored forms moving with mechanical precision through the gathering dusk. Citizens scurry faster toward their homes, heads down, invisible. How did we let it come to this? My gaze drifts to where my hidden compartment lies. I think of the pistol, of my fallen comrades, of promises made long ago, of the girl with the spray can, daring what no one dares anymore. I rub my scarred hands together, feeling the rough texture of skin that's seen too much. Hands that fought once, then surrendered slowly, one concession at a time. Night falls completely. The curfew siren wails its warning. From my window, I watch the last stragglers rush to reach their homes before the Peacekeepers' zero-tolerance policy kicks in. The streets empty. Silence descends, broken only by the occasional hum of patrol drones. I should sleep. There's nothing else to do in this cage we call freedom. But sleep doesn't come. Instead, I find myself returning to the hidden compartment, opening it again. This time, my hand closes around the pistol. I don't remove it, just feel its weight, its solidity. Real metal in a world of synthetics. I think about the revolution, about how it felt to believe in something worth dying for, about how it felt to stand beside others who shared that belief. I wonder if there are still people like that, if the girl with the spray can is really alone, or if there are more like her, hiding, waiting. A sudden commotion from the street below breaks the curfew silence. Voices, sharp and commanding, someone protesting, then crying out in pain. I move to the window again. In the sickly glow of the streetlights, I see them, 4 peacekeepers dragging someone from the building across the way. With a shock, I recognize him, Emil Novak, the teacher from the 3rd floor. Quiet, unassuming Emil, who loans books to neighborhood children, who once slipped me a copy of actual paper poetry, pre-corporate literature, a criminal offense. Citizen Emil Novak, a peacekeeper announces through his amplified helmet, "You are charged with possession and distribution of unsanctioned materials. Public processing will commence immediately as a warning to others." They force him to his knees in the center of the street. One peacekeeper holds a tablet displaying evidence, books, actual paper books. Another begins reading the charges, detailing how corrupting unsanctioned literature is, how it threatens the stability of our democracy. Emil's face is already bloody. He doesn't resist as they strike him again, methodically, a lesson for watching eyes. I know many are watching, from darkened windows, from behind curtains, watching and doing nothing, as I've done for decades. Movement in the shadows across the street catches my eye. It's her, the graffiti girl. Half hidden behind a dumpster, she has something in her hands. A small device. She's recording this. My heart races. If they catch her. The peacekeepers continue their processing of Emil, their amplified voices declaring this the consequence of disloyalty. Their laughter carries between blows, and something in me breaks. 47 years of silence, of survival, of looking away. I turn from the window, moving with sudden purpose to my hidden compartment. This time, I remove the pistol, feeling its familiar weight. I check the magazine, still loaded after all these years, just as I left it the day I decided the fight was over. No more watching, I whisper to the ghosts of my friends, to the memory of who I once was. No more excuses. The pistol feels right in my scarred hand, like coming home after a long absence. I move to the door, the certainty of what comes next, both terrifying and liberating. Chapter 2. No more excuses. The pistol sits heavy in my hand, 47 years of dust wiped clean with a single swipe of my thumb. I check the action, still smooth, despite the decades. I've maintained it meticulously all these years, though I never thought I'd use it again. I just couldn't bring myself to get rid of it. Maybe some part of me always knew this day would come. From the hidden compartment, I retrieved 2 spare magazines. Ammunition is scarce. These were easier to maintain than to replace. 15 rounds per magazine, plus the one already loaded. 46 shots total. It won't be enough if they bring in reinforcements, but that's not the point. This isn't about winning. It's about finally standing. I slide the pistol into my coat pocket and move to the door, pausing with my hand on the knob. My reflection stares back at me from the tarnished metal surface of the door, an old man with deep-set eyes and lines carved by decades of silence, the face of someone who gave up. Not anymore. Emil's cries filter up from the street below, punctuated by the mechanical voice of the peacekeeper's helmet amplifier. Let this serve as an example to all citizens of how sedition undermines our shared security. My fingers tighten around the doorknob. For a moment, my mind flashes to what comes next. Best case scenario, I'll be dead before morning. Worst case, captured, processed, my mind wiped for public re-education demonstrations. There is no scenario where I walk away from this. I'm surprised to find I don't care. For the first time in decades, the crushing weight of futility lifts from my shoulders. Whatever happens, at least I'll die as myself, not as the hollow shell I've become. I open the door and step into the corridor. The emergency stairwell is dimly lit, bathed in the pulsing red of curfew warning lights. My boots make almost no sound on the concrete steps, an old habit from my revolutionary days. I'd forgotten how naturally the training comes back, how the body remembers what the mind tries to forget. 8 floors. My knee burns with each step down, but adrenaline dulls the pain to a background whisper. I pass Mrs. Rivera's floor. Her door is shut tight, but I can see light beneath it. She's watching, like everyone else, watching and doing nothing, as I was, until tonight. The pistol presses against my ribs with each movement, a constant reminder of my purpose. With every floor I descend, memories surface, tactical approaches, combat breathing, target assessment. Things I haven't thought about in years come flooding back, muscle memory awakening. I think of the young woman with the spray can, of Emile on his knees in the street, of my comrades who died believing they were creating something better, of the clenched fist flag hidden in my wall and what it was supposed to mean. The lobby of the building is deserted, the attendant's desk empty. Even the surveillance camera in the corner seems to be looking elsewhere. No one wants to witness what's happening outside. No one wants to be called to testify. I pause at the lobby door, peering through its grimy glass. The scene outside has worsened. Emile lies curled on the ground, while 2 peacekeepers continue their methodical work. A third films the processing for later broadcast on the mandatory viewing hour. A fourth stands guard, shock baton active, watching for any interference. My hand slides into my pocket, fingers wrapping around the pistol's grip. One last chance to turn back, to climb the stairs, return to my apartment, hide the weapon, and pretend I never considered this madness. A groan escapes Emile as a peacekeeper's armored boot connects with his ribs. I push through the door into the night. Cold air hits my face as I step outside. The street lamps cast everything in harsh, artificial light, creating pools of illumination surrounded by deep shadow. I stay within the darkness, moving with deliberate steps, not running, not hiding, but not drawing immediate attention either. The peacekeepers are focused on their work, confident in their authority. No one has challenged them in this neighborhood in years. Why would tonight be any different? I scan my surroundings, assessing. The young woman is still there, half hidden behind the dumpster across the street, her recording device aimed at the scene. She hasn't noticed me yet. Good. She needs to keep filming no matter what happens next. 20 meters to the peacekeepers. 15. 10. I'm close enough now to hear their conversation, the casual cruelty of it. "This one had actual paper books," says the one holding the tablet. "Can you believe that? Where do they even get that stuff?" "Probably from the perimeter," another answers, delivering another calculated blow to Emile's kidneys. "They smuggle in all kinds of contraband." "Well, he won't be reading anything for a while after tonight." The third laughs, adjusting his camera angle for better coverage of Emile's suffering. None of them notice me until I'm 5 meters away, and my hand is already drawing the pistol from my pocket. The guard sees me first, his helmet swiveling in my direction. There's a moment, just a heartbeat, where nothing happens. The sight of an old man approaching after curfew doesn't register as a threat. Not immediately. That heartbeat is all I need. "What the hell do you think?" he begins, then stops as he sees the weapon in my hand. I don't hesitate. The pistol comes up in a motion I haven't executed in 47 years, yet my hands remember. The recoil surprises me slightly as I fire twice, center mass, where the armor is weakest at the join between chest and shoulder. The guard staggers backward, shock baton dropping from suddenly nerveless fingers. The other peacekeepers freeze in momentary confusion. This doesn't happen. Citizens don't fight back. Not anymore. Their hesitation gives me time for 2 more shots. The cameraman goes down, his equipment clattering to the pavement. The one with the tablet reaches for his sidearm, but he's too slow. My third bullet catches him in the neck, between helmet and body armor. The fourth Peacekeeper is already moving, diving for cover behind their patrol vehicle, shouting into his comm unit, "Officer down." Armed insurgent in Outer Ring East 12, requesting immediate backup. I advance toward Emil, keeping my weapon trained on the remaining Peacekeeper. The teacher looks up at me, his swollen face a mask of blood and confusion. "Can you move?" I ask, my voice rough from disuse. He nods weakly. "Then go. Now." I gesture toward the alley behind us with my free hand. "Don't look back." Emil struggles to his feet, swaying. For a moment, I think he'll collapse again, but determination straightens his spine. He limps toward the alley, leaving a trail of blood on the pavement. The Peacekeeper behind the vehicle fires his weapon, a warning shot that pings off the building facade. "Drop your weapon, citizen. Lethal force has been authorized." I don't respond. Instead, I position myself between him and Emil's retreating form. The young woman with the recording device is still hidden, her lens catching everything. This needs to be seen. All of it. The Peacekeeper fires again, this time aiming to kill. The bullet grazes my left arm, tearing through fabric and skin. Pain flares bright and immediate, but I've felt worse. I return fire, forcing him back into cover. I'm acutely aware of the disadvantage. His armor can absorb multiple hits. Mine can't absorb any. He has reinforcements coming. I have 42 bullets remaining and nowhere to go. But I also have nothing left to lose. Windows in the surrounding buildings light up as people gather to watch, despite the risk. Faces appear and disappear behind curtains. No one comes to help. I don't expect them to. But they're witnessing. That matters. The wail of approaching sirens cuts through the night. The Peacekeeper must hear it too because he grows bolder, leaning out to fire a more carefully aimed shot. This one catches me in the thigh, spinning me halfway around. I stagger but don't fall, gritting my teeth against the searing pain. Warm blood soaks my pant leg, but the bullet seems to have passed through clean. I can still stand, still fight. I fire back, 3 rapid shots that force the Peacekeeper to duck. "You're dead already, old man," he shouts. "Backup is 2 minutes out. Stand down and maybe they'll just mind-wipe you instead of making an example." I laugh, surprising myself with the sound. When was the last time I laughed? "Already been an example," I call back. "For 47 years. Not anymore." 2 rounds left in this magazine. I eject it, letting it clatter to the ground, and reload with practiced movements. The pain in my leg is becoming problematic. I need to end this before I lose too much blood. I scan the street, looking for an advantage. The fallen Peacekeepers offer one. Their weapons. If I can reach them. The decision is made for me as the remaining Peacekeeper makes a sudden move, breaking cover to rush my position. He's betting on my age, my injuries slowing me down. He's not entirely wrong. I pivot awkwardly on my wounded leg, bringing my pistol up, but he's faster than I anticipated. His armored body slams into mine, driving me backward. My shot goes wide as I fall, the back of my head cracking against the pavement. Stars explode across my vision. The Peacekeeper looms over me, his helmet faceplate reflecting my own stunned expression back at me. He raises his shock baton, the electric charge humming with deadly promise. "Citizen Colton James Ross," he intones formally, "you are charged with sedition, assault on corporate security personnel, and possession of prohibited weaponry. Your sentence is—" I don't wait for him to finish. With strength born of desperation, I drive my knee up between his legs, the one spot where even Peacekeeper armor has to allow flexibility. He doubles over with a grunt of pain, and I bring my pistol up, pressing it against the underside of his helmet where the seal meets the neck guard. The gunshot is deafening at such close range. The Peacekeeper collapses on top of me, suddenly dead weight. I push him off with effort, my wounded arm protesting. For a moment, I just lie there, breathing hard, blood pooling beneath my leg. The sirens are louder now, very close. With tremendous effort, I pull myself up, using a nearby lamppost for support. My head spins, but I force myself to focus. 4 peacekeepers down, many more coming. Across the street, the young woman emerges slightly from her hiding place, her eyes wide with disbelief. She's still recording. Good. Go, I mouth to her, gesturing away from the approaching sirens. Share it. She hesitates, then nods, slipping deeper into the shadows of the alley. I turn toward the fallen peacekeepers, limping heavily. Their weapons will be more effective against armor than my pistol. I retrieve a pulse rifle from the nearest body, checking its charge. 80%. It'll do. The sound of boots on pavement reaches me. A full tactical unit rounding the corner at the far end of the street. At least a dozen peacekeepers, heavily armed, moving with military precision. I position myself in the middle of the street, rifle raised. Blood trails down my leg, forming a small puddle at my feet. My arm throbs where the bullet grazed it. My vision blurs slightly from the head wound. But I'm standing. After 47 years of kneeling, I'm finally standing. This is your only warning, booms an amplified voice from the lead peacekeeper. Surrender your weapon and submit to processing. Around us, more faces appear in windows. Doors crack open. People are watching, not just from behind glass, but actually emerging from their homes after curfew. A whisper ripples through the gathering crowd, a current of something I haven't felt in decades. Hope. The tactical unit advances in formation, weapons ready. I adjust my grip on the pulse rifle, calculating odds that can't be beaten. It doesn't matter. I didn't come here to win. I came to remind us all what standing looks like. Citizen Ross, the lead peacekeeper calls again. Your service record has been noted. Surrender now, and accommodations will be made for your veteran status and advanced age. I spit blood onto the pavement. My name, I shout back, is Colt. I fought in the People's Reformation. We didn't fight for this. With deliberate motions, I raise the rifle to my shoulder, sighting down its length at the lead peacekeeper. Take one more step, and you'll need a new commander, I warn. They hesitate, assessing. I'm just one old man, wounded and outnumbered, but I've already taken down 4 of their own, and something in my stance tells them I'm not bluffing. The crowd grows larger, people emerging from all directions despite the danger. They keep their distance, but their presence creates a problem for the peacekeepers. Mass casualties would require explanation, even in this controlled society. All citizens, return to your residences immediately, the commander orders, his amplified voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. This is an active security situation. Compliance is mandatory. No one moves. If anything, more people appear. My wounded leg threatens to buckle, but I lock my knee, refusing to show weakness. Blood loss is becoming a serious concern, but it doesn't matter now. Nothing matters except this moment, this stand. Last warning, the commander says, but I hear the change in his voice. He's no longer certain of his authority. The crowd shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be fighting back. None of this fits the script they're trained for. I adjust my aim and fire. Not at the commander, but at the corporate banner hanging above them. The next-gen logo shredding under the pulse rifle's energy beam. The symbolism isn't lost on anyone watching. You should know something, I call out, loud enough for the crowd to hear. The revolution never ended. We just forgot how to fight. The peacekeepers advance in coordinated movement, spreading out to flank me. I track them with the rifle, forcing myself to remain steady despite the growing weakness in my limbs. The blood pool beneath me has grown alarmingly large. The first shots come from my left, stun rounds designed to incapacitate. I dive awkwardly behind the patrol vehicle, my injured leg screaming in protest. The movement sends fresh waves of dizziness through me, but I fight to stay conscious. From my new position, I return fire, aiming for their legs where the armor is lightest. 2 peacekeepers go down, not dead, but effectively removed from the fight. The rest take cover, turning this into a proper firefight, something these streets haven't seen since the Revolution. Someone in the crowd throws something, a bottle that shatters against a peacekeeper's helmet. Then another, small acts of defiance spreading like contagion. All units, contain the civilians, the commander orders, his voice tight with strain. Lethal force authorized for the primary target only. Half the tactical unit breaks off to form a perimeter, corralling the growing crowd. Their attention divided, I see my opportunity. I emerge from cover, pulse rifle spraying energy bolts across their formation. 3 more peacekeepers fall before return fire forces me back. Pain lances through my side. Another hit, this one more serious. I press my hand against it, feeling warm blood seep between my fingers. The world tilts alarmingly, but I force myself to stay upright. "Is this all you've got?" I shout, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet street. "I've seen worse from children." The taunt has its intended effect. The commander signals, and 4 peacekeepers rush my position from different angles. I manage to take one down before they reach me. The pulse rifle is knocked from my hands, skittering across the pavement. A armored fist strikes my wounded side, driving me to my knees. Another blow catches my jaw, snapping my head back. I reach for my pistol, still in my pocket, but an armored boot stomps on my wrist, pinning it to the ground. Pain flares white-hot up my arm. "Restrain him," the commander orders, approaching now that I'm subdued. "Maximum security protocols." As peacekeepers wrench my arms behind my back, I look up at the surrounding crowd. Their faces reflect shock, fear, but something else too. Something I haven't seen in a long, long time. Awakening. The commander stands over me, his helmet faceplate depolarizing to reveal his features. He's younger than I expected, probably wasn't even born when we fought the first revolution. "You've accomplished nothing here," he says, voice no longer amplified, "except your own destruction." Blood trickles from my mouth as I smile up at him. "Look around you," I reply, my voice rough but carrying in the night air. "I've accomplished everything." His expression flickers with uncertainty as he follows my gaze to the growing crowd, to the whispers passing between them, to the recording devices that have appeared despite the risk, to the realization that something fundamental has changed tonight. "Take him," he orders, turning away. As they drag me to my feet, pain shooting through my multiple wounds, I catch sight of the young woman with the spray can. She's moved to a new position, still recording, her face a mixture of horror and awe. Our eyes meet briefly across the distance, and I give her the smallest nod. The message is passed. The spark is lit. Whatever happens to me now, the fire has started, and this time, we won't let it go out. Chapter 3. The Last Stand. Pain brings me back to consciousness, sharp, insistent pain radiating from multiple points across my body. My vision swims into focus slowly, revealing the interior of a peacekeeper transport vehicle. My hands are bound behind my back with magnetic restraints that cut into my already damaged wrist. Blood has dried in stiff patches on my clothing. Through a small window, I see we're moving through the streets of the outer ring. The sirens have stopped, but the vehicle's lights still pulse, casting rhythmic blue shadows across the cabin interior. 2 peacekeepers sit across from me, pulse rifles across their laps, faceplate shields still polarized to hide their expressions. "He's awake," one says, voice flat through the helmet amplifier. The other leans forward slightly. "Doesn't matter. 5 minutes to processing center." Processing center, where dissidents disappear, returning weeks later with vacant eyes and perfect compliance, if they return at all. The place revolutionaries whispered about during the war, before we thought we'd won and abolished such practices forever. How naive we were. I test my restraints subtly. No give at all. The magnetic lock would require a key from one of my guards. My wounded leg throbs with each heartbeat, and the injury in my side feels dangerously deep. Without medical attention soon, blood loss will finish what the peacekeepers started. Maybe that's preferable to processing. The transport suddenly swerves, throwing me against the metal wall. From the front cabin, I hear shouting. The 2 guards tense, raising their weapons. "What is it?" one calls to the driver. "Roadblock," comes the terse reply. "Unauthorized assembly. East Junction is completely blocked." "That's impossible. It's past curfew." The vehicle slows, then stops completely. More shouting from outside. The guards exchange glances, their body language shifting from bored to alert. "Stay with the prisoner," one says, moving toward the front cabin. "I'll check it out." Through the small window, I catch glimpses of what's happening. A large crowd has gathered at the intersection ahead, blocking all access. Despite the hour, despite the danger, people have come out of their homes in numbers too great for the standard patrols to disperse. My guard notices me watching and slams the metal cover over the window. "Eyes down, prisoner." But it's too late. I've seen it. The spark has caught fire faster than I could have imagined. The rear doors of the transport suddenly bang open. My guard swings his weapon around, but he's too slow. A barrage of objects, bottles, rocks, pieces of concrete, rains into the vehicle. One catches him directly in the faceplate, cracking it and sending him staggering backward. Hands reach in, dozens of them, grabbing at the disoriented guard, pulling him out into the night. More hands reach for me, cutting the restraints with makeshift tools, pulling me from the transport despite my injuries. The sudden movement sends waves of agony through my wounded body, but the adrenaline counteracts the worst of it. I find myself half carried, half dragged, through a churning sea of people, ordinary citizens of the outer ring, all breaking curfew, all risking everything. "Move!" someone shouts near my ear. "More peacekeepers coming from the west!" The crowd surges down a side street, carrying me with them. Through gaps between buildings, I catch glimpses of the main road. Peacekeeper transports arriving, armored troops deploying in tactical formation. But they're outnumbered in a way I've not seen since the Revolution. "In here," a voice directs, and I'm guided through a doorway into what appears to be an abandoned storefront. The crowd continues past outside, drawing the peacekeepers with them, while a smaller group remains with me. As they ease me onto a table, I get my first clear look at my rescuers. Regular people, a middle-aged woman with determined eyes, an older man with a maintenance uniform, a younger couple holding improvised weapons fashioned from household items, and her, the young woman from earlier, the one with the spray can and recording device. Up close, I can see she's perhaps mid-20s, with sharp, intelligent eyes that have seen too much too young. "You're bleeding badly," she says, examining my wounds. "We need to stabilize him," she tells the others. "Why risk it?" the maintenance man asks. "He's just one old man. Look what's happening out there now. We should join them." "Because he stood when no one else would," she replies sharply, "and we need him alive." The woman with determined eyes produces a medical kit, actual medical supplies, not the diluted versions available to regular citizens. "This was my mother's," she explains, seeing my questioning look. "She was a nurse before the corporate consolidation of healthcare, hid these away for years." As they work on my wounds, applying pressure bandages, injecting what I assume is a coagulant, I try to make sense of what's happening. "How ... I manage, my voice raspy. The young woman holds up her recording device. "I sent the footage to everyone I know. They sent it to everyone they know. By the time they tried to block the transmission, it had already spread too far." A fierce smile lights her face. "They couldn't stop it." "Your name?" I ask her. She hesitates, then decides. "Mira." "Colt," I reply, though she probably already knows. "Rest," she says. "We need to move again soon. This location won't stay safe for long." But resting isn't an option. Whatever momentum has started needs to be maintained. I try to sit up, ignoring the fresh wave of pain the movement triggers. "Help me up," I tell them. "We need to get back out there." They exchange worried glances. "You've done your part," the maintenance man says. "Let others carry it now." I shake my head, immediately regretting the motion as dizziness washes over me. That's what we all said last time. We won, then went home, thinking the work was done. I meet each of their eyes in turn. The revolution never ends. You have to keep fighting for it. Mira studies me for a long moment, then nods. He's right. She turns to the others. Patch him up as best you can. We move in 5 minutes. The streets have transformed in the short time since my capture. What began as a cautious gathering has erupted into full rebellion. As our small group moves through back alleys and service corridors, I catch glimpses of the main thoroughfares, citizens openly confronting peacekeepers, corporate banners being torn down, long silent voices raised in defiance. It's beautiful and terrifying, just like the first time. Mira supports me on one side, the maintenance man, who introduced himself as Javier, on the other. My wounds have been bandaged, but I'm far from healed. Each step sends fresh pain through my body, and the bandage on my side is already showing spots of red. But the alternative is waiting and hiding while others fight, and I've done enough of that for one lifetime. "Where are we going?" I ask, as we navigate through a narrow passage between buildings. "Central Broadcast Hub," Mira answers. "Local distribution node for all corporate programming in the outer ring. If we can take it, even briefly..." She doesn't need to finish. Control of information has always been the regime's most powerful weapon. Break that, and everything else becomes possible. We emerge onto a wider street. In the distance, the broadcast hub rises, a squat, utilitarian building surrounded by security fencing, and now a ring of peacekeeper vehicles. Between us and it, chaos reigns. Citizens clash with security forces, the disciplined tactics of the peacekeepers breaking down in the face of sheer numbers and unpredictable movement. "We'll never get through that," Javier says. "We don't need to get through it," I reply, an old tactical assessment surfacing from decades ago. "We just need to use it." I point to a narrow maintenance tunnel entrance half hidden behind a dumpster. Service access. All these facilities have them. Underground passages for technicians. Corporate efficiency demands redundancy. Mira looks at me with new appreciation. "How do you know that?" "Because we used them in the first revolution," I answer. "Some things they never bother to change." Getting to the tunnel entrance requires crossing an exposed section of street. We wait for a surge in the fighting to draw attention away from our position, then move as quickly as my injuries allow. Pain flares with each step, but I grit my teeth against it. Too much depends on this moment. The access panel is locked, but Javier produces a maintenance override key. "Some privileges of the job," he explains with a grim smile. The panel slides open, revealing a dimly lit passage sloping downward. As we descend into the tunnel, the sounds of conflict above fade, replaced by the hum of infrastructure and the drip of condensation from pipes. The air grows cooler, smelling of ozone and machinery. "How far?" Mira asks. "Should connect directly to the broadcast hub's lower level," I answer, assuming the layouts haven't changed since my day. We move carefully through the tunnel network, following maintenance markers. My strength is fading faster than I'd like to admit, blood loss and trauma taking their toll despite the makeshift treatment. But stopping isn't an option. After what feels like hours, but is probably only 20 minutes, we reach a junction with an access ladder leading upward. A sign indicates we're beneath the broadcast facility. "This is it," I say. "Once we're up there, we'll have minutes at most before they realize the breach." Mira nods, checking her recording device. "That's all we need." The ladder is my greatest challenge yet. Each rung sends fresh agony through my wounds, and halfway up, my vision begins to tunnel alarmingly. I force myself to continue, one excruciating movement after another, until finally we reach the top access panel. Javier uses his override again, and we emerge into a utility room filled with humming equipment. No alarms sound. Our entrance has gone unnoticed amid the chaos outside. Control room will be central, highest security, I say, breathing heavily from the exertion. But we don't need it. Just find a secondary input terminal. Mira and Javier help me into the corridor. The facility appears largely abandoned, most security personnel having been called to the perimeter to deal with the street fighting. We encounter a single technician who stares at us in shock before Javier subdues him with surprising efficiency. Military service before maintenance, he explains, seeing my expression. Not all veterans became compliant. We find what we're looking for in a small monitoring station, a media input console connected to the local broadcast network. Mira immediately gets to work, connecting her device to the system. They'll have safeguards, I warn. Already bypassing them, she replies, fingers flying across the interface. Modern security, but old infrastructure underneath. There's always gaps if you know where to look. On the screens around us, I watch corporate programming continue uninterrupted, the same carefully crafted messaging designed to maintain compliance. Then, suddenly, it flickers. Every screen in the room, and presumably thousands across the outer ring, fills with the image of an old man standing in a street, facing down peacekeepers. Me, blood-stained and defiant, speaking words that no one has dared speak in decades. The revolution never ended. We just forgot how to fight. The footage continues, showing my stand against overwhelming force, the peacekeepers' brutality, the gathering crowd, all of it raw, unfiltered truth, cutting through decades of corporate manipulation. How long can you hold the signal? I ask. Maybe 10 minutes before they lock us out completely, Mira answers. But it doesn't matter. It's being mirrored to thousands of personal devices simultaneously. They can't erase it now. A distant alarm begins to wail. Our intrusion has been detected. We need to move, Javier urges, back the way we came. But as I turn toward the door, my legs finally betray me. I stumble, a fresh wave of blood soaking through the bandage on my side. The room spins alarmingly. He can't make it back through the tunnels, Mira says, catching me before I fall completely. There has to be another way out. Javier checks the facility schematic on the wall. Service elevator to the roof. From there, maintenance platforms connect to adjacent buildings, if we can get across. The decision is made for us as the sound of armored boots echoes from the corridor. Peacekeepers have entered the building. With Mira and Javier supporting me between them, we make our way to the service elevator, each step more difficult than the last. The elevator creaks upward slowly, painfully slowly. The alarm continues to wail. On the screens visible through open doors as we pass, our footage still plays, a loop of defiance broadcasting to thousands. We reach the roof access, emerging into the night air. The city spreads before us, a sea of lights and darkness. From this height, I can see the disturbance has spread beyond our immediate area. Flashing lights and movement in adjacent sectors, the infection of resistance spreading outward. There, Javier points to a maintenance catwalk connecting to the neighboring building. If we can cross that, the roof access door bursts open behind us. Elite peacekeepers pour through, weapons raised. There's nowhere left to run. Get her out of here, I tell Javier, pulling away from their support. The footage matters more than I do. No, Mira protests. We're not leaving you. But Javier understands. With a grim nod, he grabs Mira's arm, pulling her toward the catwalk. She resists at first, then recognizes the necessity. The footage must survive. The spark must continue to spread. I turn to face the peacekeepers, drawing myself up as straight as my broken body allows. Blood drips steadily from my reopened wounds, pooling at my feet. I'm empty-handed, weaponless, barely able to stand. But I'm not finished yet. Citizen Ross, the lead peacekeeper, announces, "You are charged with sedition, trespassing on corporate property, and incitement to mass unrest. Submit to immediate processing." Behind me, I hear Mira and Javier making their escape across the catwalk. I need to buy them time. Just a little more time. My name, I say, voice carrying clearly despite my weakness, is Colt. I fought in the People's Reformation. We didn't fight for this. The Peacekeeper commander signals, and 2 of his men advance to seize me. I summon what remains of my strength and lash out, catching one with a solid blow to his exposed neck. Years of accumulated rage give power to the strike, dropping him to his knees despite his armor. The second Peacekeeper hits me with his stun baton, electricity arcing through my already damaged body. My muscles spasm, and I collapse to the rooftop, the rough surface abrading my cheek. "Restrain him," the commander orders. But I'm not done. As they attempt to secure my arms, I thrash wildly, landing another solid hit. It's futile, ultimately, 1 against many, wounded against fresh, but every second I resist is another second for Mira, and the footage to get further away. A boot connects with my wounded side, driving the air from my lungs in an agonized gasp. Another strikes my back, my chest, my already injured leg. The Peacekeepers have abandoned procedure now, raw anger driving their actions. "Enough," the commander says finally. "He's just an old man, not worth the processing resources." Through swollen eyes, I see him draw his sidearm. This is it then, the end I expected from the beginning. But instead of firing, he holsters the weapon again. "Number no martyrs. Leave him. He'll bleed out anyway." The Peacekeepers release me, letting me slump fully to the roof surface. As they turn to pursue Mira and Javier, the commander looks down at me with contempt. "You've lost. Again. The only difference is, this time, no one will even remember your name." They leave, disappearing through the roof access in pursuit of the others. I lie there, alone under the night sky, too damaged to move. Blood pools beneath me, warm then cooling in the night air. But through the pain, through the encroaching darkness at the edges of my vision, I feel something I hadn't expected. Satisfaction. I drift in and out of consciousness as the night progresses. The sounds of conflict continue below. Sirens, shouting, the occasional burst of weapons fire. From my position, I can see fires burning in several locations across the outer ring. The unrest is spreading, just as we'd hoped. With tremendous effort, I manage to roll onto my back, looking up at the stars partially obscured by smoke and light pollution. They're the same stars I gazed at as a young revolutionary, full of hope and certainty. How strange to see them again at the end, hope rekindled after so many years of darkness. I think of Mira, her determination, her courage in continuing to record despite the danger. She reminds me of Layla from my old revolutionary cell, same fire in her eyes. I hope she made it clear. I hope the footage continues to spread. Time passes strangely. I drift away, then return to find the sky has shifted. My body grows colder, even as the pain recedes somewhat. Blood no longer pumps actively from my wounds. Either they're clotting, or there's simply not much left to lose. Probably the latter. In the distance, an explosion lights up the night, something significant burning in the corporate heights. The sound reaches me seconds later, a deep rumble that vibrates through the rooftop beneath me. I smile despite the pain. It's really happening. Again. But this time, maybe they'll remember the lessons we forgot. Maybe this time, they'll understand that the revolution never truly ends. It must be fought for every day. My vision darkens further. It's becoming harder to stay present. Part of me wants to hold on, to see how this unfolds. But I know I've played my part. The rest belongs to Mira, and those like her, the next generation of revolutionaries. A strange peace settles over me as consciousness begins to slip away. For the first time in 47 years, I feel whole again. I feel like the young man who believed in something greater than himself, who was willing to die for it. As darkness claims me, my last thought is of my old comrades, Marco, Elena, Darius, Sophia, June, Raphael, Layla. I wonder if they'll be waiting, and what they'll say when I tell them that their sacrifice wasn't in vain after all. The revolution lives on. Cold, wet, pain. Consciousness returns reluctantly, in fragments. I'm still on the rooftop, but now rain falls lightly, washing the blood from my face. I shouldn't be alive, yet somehow I am, though alive may be a generous description for my current state. The sky has lightened slightly. Not dawn yet, but the deepest part of night has passed. Below, the sounds of conflict continue, perhaps even louder than before. Flashing lights pulse across the cityscape, and multiple columns of smoke rise into the pre-dawn air. With monumental effort, I try to move. My body responds sluggishly, every motion sending fresh waves of agony through me. But I manage to prop myself up against a ventilation unit, gaining a better view of what's happening below. The city is in open revolt. From this height, I can see pockets of resistance throughout the outer ring and spreading into the productive zones. Peacekeeper vehicles move frantically between hotspots, clearly overwhelmed by the scale of the uprising. How long was I unconscious? Hours, at least. Long enough for the situation to escalate beyond containment. I assess my condition clinically, as I was trained to do in the war. Multiple serious wounds, significant blood loss, internal damage likely. Without proper medical attention soon, survival remains unlikely. But I've lasted this long against the odds. Using the ventilation unit for support, I drag myself toward the roof access door the Peacekeepers used earlier. If I can get inside, find a communication terminal. There's more I can do, more I need to say. The door is locked, of course. In my condition, forcing it is impossible. I slump against it, strength fading again. So close, yet unable to rejoin the fight. My gaze falls on the maintenance catwalk Mira and Javier used to escape. It stretches across to the adjacent building like a lifeline just out of reach. In my current state, attempting to cross would be suicide. Yet staying here means certain death anyway. I begin the excruciating process of dragging myself toward it. Each meter takes what feels like hours, pain consuming my awareness until there's nothing else. Just movement, just purpose. Reaching the catwalk, I pull myself upright using the railing, legs threatening to buckle beneath me. The gap yawns below, a 6-story drop to the street. The metal walkway shifts slightly under my weight, its attachments groaning. One step, then another, the catwalk swaying with each painful movement. I focus only on the next step, then the next, refusing to look down or think about the consequences of falling. Halfway across, my wounded leg finally gives out. I crash to my knees, clinging to the railing as the entire structure shudders. For several heartbeats, I think it will tear free, sending me plummeting. But it holds, if barely. Continuing on hands and knees, I finally reach the other side. The door here is mercifully unlocked, maintenance access rarely secured in the cheaper buildings of the outer ring. I drag myself inside, finding a service stairwell. Descending is even more punishing than the catwalk, each step jarring my wounds. Black spots dance at the edges of my vision, but I force myself to continue. Down one floor, then another. Progress measured in agony and determination. I emerge finally onto a residential floor, an apartment building similar to my own. The corridor is deserted, doors tightly closed despite the commotion outside. Not everyone is ready to join the fight. Decades of conditioning don't disappear overnight. I collapse against the wall, strength finally exhausted. So close to the street, to rejoining the struggle, yet unable to go further. My vision darkens again, consciousness slipping away despite my efforts to cling to it. The last thing I see before darkness reclaims me is a door cracking open, a wary face peering out at the bloodied stranger collapsed in their hallway. A face that shows first fear, then recognition. "It's him," I hear distantly. "It's really him." Then nothing. I wake to rough hands dragging me. Pain flares anew as I'm pulled across broken pavement, my head bouncing against the ground. Through blurred vision, I see armored legs. Peacekeepers. They've found me. "Just leave him here," one says, voice distorted through his helmet. Let everyone see what happens to instigators. They drop me unceremoniously in what I gradually recognize as the middle of a street. The same street where this all began, where Emile was beaten, where I made my stand. The symbolism isn't lost on me, even in my diminished state. He's still alive, another says with surprise. Tough old bastard. Not for long. Bleeding internally, likely multiple organ failure. Medical wouldn't waste resources even if we brought him in. They stand over me momentarily, then turn away, moving to rejoin a larger unit engaged in containment efforts at the intersection. They've left me to die in public view, a warning to others. Little do they know, they've just made their biggest mistake. The street appears empty at first glance, citizens having retreated from the direct confrontation. But I sense eyes watching from windows, from shadowed doorways, witnesses to what happens next, whatever that may be. I try to move, to at least sit up, but my body no longer responds to commands. The best I can manage is to turn my head slightly, taking in my surroundings. The morning sun has just begun to rise, casting long shadows across the debris-strewn pavement. Evidence of the night's conflict is everywhere. Burned-out vehicles, shattered windows, torn banners. Time passes. I drift between consciousness and darkness, each return to awareness more difficult than the last. The Peacekeepers remain at the intersection, establishing a perimeter, too busy to pay attention to the dying man they've left as an example. Then, movement at the edge of my vision. A figure darts from a doorway, staying low, keeping to shadows. Then another. They approach cautiously, checking for Peacekeeper attention. I recognize Mira's face as she kneels beside me, her expression a mixture of horror and determination. "Colt," she whispers, "can you hear me?" I try to respond, but only a rasp emerges. She leans closer. "We thought you were dead," she says urgently. "The footage, it's everywhere, all sectors. Even the corporate heights can't block it anymore." Her eyes shine with unshed tears. "You did it. People are standing up everywhere." The second figure joins her, Emile, the teacher, face still bruised, but moving with purpose. "We need to move him," he says quietly, "before they notice." Mira nods. "We have a medic, a real one, not just first aid. If we can get him there." They begin to lift me. The pain is extraordinary, but I have no strength left to even cry out. As they carry me toward a nearby alley, my consciousness fades again, the world dissolving into fragments of sensation and sound. The last thing I hear before darkness claims me completely is a Peacekeeper alarm wailing in the distance. Not the usual containment siren, but the full emergency broadcast tone. The sound used only for system-wide threats. The sound of a revolution that can no longer be contained. The Peacekeepers have left me for dead in the street, but the street itself has risen, and I am not finished yet.
Chapter 4. Revolution Rekindled. Mira. The weight of the recording device in my hands feels greater than its physical mass. Inside it lies the evidence, the spark, that could finally ignite the changes we've only whispered about. My fingers tremble as I connect it to the underground network terminal, hidden beneath an abandoned laundromat in the outer ring. Emile paces nearby, his educator's patience worn thin by urgency. "How much longer?" "Almost done," I mutter, navigating the complex security protocols my tech-savvy friends designed for exactly this purpose. "Can't rush this part. We only get one chance." The terminal finally accepts the connection, and I begin the upload. The footage of Colt's stand against the Peacekeepers, the old revolutionary facing down armored enforcers with nothing but conviction and an ancient weapon, starts transferring to our secure servers. "Package delivered," I announce as the progress bar completes. "Now for distribution." With practiced moves, I initiate the cascade protocol. Our network isn't large, just a few hundred trusted contacts, but each of them has been instructed what to do when they receive critical content. Share it immediately to everyone in their personal networks, who share it to theirs, exponentially spreading the information faster than corporate censors can track and block it. How long until it reaches critical mass? Emil asks, his teacher's mind always calculating probabilities. An hour, maybe less. I disconnect from the terminal, careful to leave no digital fingerprints. Depends on how quickly they respond. But once it hits even a few thousand devices, they can't contain it anymore. I check the small makeshift monitoring station we've set up. A repurposed corporate entertainment screen, modified to show data from our network. Already the footage is propagating across the outer ring communications grid. Little dots of light spreading across the digital map like a viral infection. We should move, Emil says, glancing at the door. This location won't stay secure for long. I nod, gathering my equipment. We've been extremely careful, but caution has kept us alive this long. The footage is what matters now. Our physical safety is secondary to ensuring its continued spread. As we prepare to leave, I pause to check the monitor one last time. The distribution is accelerating even faster than I'd hoped. Thousands of devices now receiving and resharing the content. And something else is happening. Movement patterns in the outer ring show unusual activity for this hour. People leaving their homes despite the curfew. It's working. Already, it's working. Come on, Emil urges, holding the door. I follow him into the night, wondering if Colt is still alive, and what he would think of what's happening now. The old revolutionary, forgotten for decades, suddenly the catalyst for everything we've been working toward. We move through back alleys and service corridors, staying away from main streets where peacekeeper patrols have intensified. The sounds of the city are changing. Distant shouts, occasional crash of breaking glass, the wail of security alarms. Normal curfew silence shattered by awakening. An hour after uploading the footage, we reach our temporary safe house, a small apartment in an overlooked building at the boundary between the outer ring and the productive zones. From the window, we have a clear view of several main thoroughfares, and what I see takes my breath away. People are in the streets. Not just a few desperate souls risking curfew violations, but hundreds, gathering at intersections, moving in loose groups between buildings. From this distance, they look like dark streams flowing between structures, converging around peacekeeper checkpoints and corporate installations. It's really happening, Emil whispers beside me, his academic reserve cracking to reveal raw emotion. I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime. I check my communications device. Reports are flooding in from across the outer ring and even from the productive zones. Colt's footage has reached millions of screens in just over an hour. Corporate censors scrambling to contain it have been overwhelmed by the distributed nature of the sharing. Block one path and 10 more appear. More significantly, the footage hasn't just been seen, it's being acted upon. People are leaving their homes, breaking curfew en masse. The first documented peacekeeper casualty reports are coming in. A security station in the Eastern Commons has been overrun by civilians. Corporate transport hubs are being blockaded. A notification pings on my device, an automated alert from one of my monitoring algorithms. Corporate emergency protocols have been activated. All non-essential personnel are being evacuated from outer ring facilities. Peacekeepers are consolidating at defendable positions rather than attempting to maintain distributed control. They're retreating. Already, they're retreating. I need to get back out there, I tell Emile. People need to see this isn't just digital rebellion. They need to see real faces, real people leading. He nods slowly. Be careful. This is just beginning, and they'll strike back hard once they regroup. I know, but first, I pause, looking back at the window, at the growing crowds below. I want to check on him, Colt. He's likely dead or captured by now, Emile says gently. Maybe, but we should know for sure. I gather my recording equipment again. He deserves that much at least. Emile doesn't argue. He understands better than most the power of symbols. Colt has become that symbol overnight, the embodiment of resistance that had been missing for too long. Knowing his fate matters. We leave the safe house, moving cautiously at first, then with growing confidence as we realize the peacekeepers have indeed pulled back from this sector. The streets feel different, electric with possibility and danger in equal measure. Ordinary citizens stand in small groups, talking openly, sharing information. Some have improvised weapons. Others are distributing banned literature or posting unauthorized notices on walls. All are watching their neighbors, gauging reactions, testing the boundaries of this new reality. We work our way toward where we last saw Colt, the intersection where he made his stand. The journey takes longer than it should. Streets are blocked by impromptu gatherings or the occasional overturned peacekeeper vehicle. Twice we have to detour around active confrontations where citizens have engaged remaining security forces. As we approach the original site, my heart sinks. The area has been cordoned off by peacekeepers, a full tactical unit establishing a perimeter around what appears to be a significant security operation. From our vantage point half a block away, it's impossible to see details, but the concentration of forces suggests they're protecting or securing something important. We can't get any closer, Emile whispers. Too many of them. I'm about to agree, when a commotion breaks out at the far side of the perimeter. A large group of civilians has pushed against the peacekeeper line, creating a distraction. The security forces respond, rushing to reinforce that section, temporarily thinning their presence on our side. Now, I decide, pulling Emile forward. Quick, while they're distracted. We sprint across the open ground, ducking behind abandoned vehicles for cover, working our way closer to the intersection. As we near the perimeter, I catch glimpses of what they're protecting, or rather, displaying. A body left prominently in the middle of the street. Colt's body. They're using him as a warning, Emile hisses. Bastards! The peacekeepers have pulled further away from our position, still dealing with the disturbance. We're close enough now that I can see Colt clearly, lying motionless in a pool of blood that appears black in the early morning light. We need to get closer, I insist. I need to document this. Emile looks at me like I've lost my mind. Mira, he's gone, and we'll join him if they spot us. But something catches my eye. The slightest movement of Colt's hand. It might be a trick of the light, the wind moving his clothing, or wishful thinking on my part. But I have to know. Cover me, I tell Emile, not waiting for his response before darting forward, staying low, using every bit of concealment available. I reach Colt's side without being detected. The Peacekeepers still focused on controlling the larger disturbance. Up close, his condition is even worse than I feared. Multiple gunshot wounds, severe beating, blood everywhere. But as I kneel beside him, his eyes flutter open, focusing on me with effort. He's alive. Impossibly, he's alive. Not only that, but his right hand is groping weakly at his side, fingers searching for something. With a shock, I realize he's reaching for where his weapon would be, trying to continue the fight even in this state. "Colt," I whisper, leaning close. "Can you hear me?" His lips move, forming words I can't quite catch. I lean closer. "Not finished," he manages, the words barely audible. "Keep fighting." Emil appears beside me, eyes widening when he sees Colt is conscious. "We need to move him. Now, before they come back." Together, we carefully lift Colt's broken body. He's surprisingly light, wasted by age and injury. His breath comes in pained gasps as we move him, but he doesn't cry out. Even now, he's thinking tactically. Noise would alert the Peacekeepers. We retreat the way we came, moving as quickly as we dare with our precious burden. The Peacekeepers remain distracted, not immediately noticing that their warning symbol has been removed from display. "Where can we take him?" Emil asks, as we reach temporary safety in a narrow alley. "He needs real medical attention." I think quickly. Dr. Vargas, veterinarian in Zone East 14, treats people off record sometimes. Emil nods. We change direction, navigating through increasingly crowded streets. The uprising is growing by the minute. More people emerging, more acts of defiance visible at every turn. Most pay us little attention, focused on their own forms of resistance. But some recognize Colt. Their expressions change as they realize who we're carrying. Shock, then reverence, then renewed determination. Word begins to spread through the crowd. He's alive. The old revolutionary is alive. The journey to Dr. Vargas's clinic takes nearly 40 minutes, far too long given Colt's condition. By the time we arrive, his breathing has grown more labored. His moments of consciousness briefer and less coherent. The clinic is locked, shutters drawn. Safety precautions during the unrest. I pound on the back door urgently, calling the doctor's name. After tense moments, the door cracks open, Vargas's suspicious face appearing in the gap. "What do you—" he begins, then stops as he sees who we're carrying. "Get him inside, quickly." The small veterinary clinic transforms instantly into an emergency room. Vargas may treat animals officially, but his training was in human medicine before corporate licensing restrictions forced him into veterinary practice. He works with practiced efficiency, cutting away Colt's blood-soaked clothing, assessing wounds, prioritizing treatment. 3 gunshot wounds, severe contusions, internal bleeding, possible traumatic head injury. He mutters as he works. How is he even alive? Will he stay that way? I ask, assisting as directed, handing over supplies. Vargas doesn't sugarcoat his assessment. Doubtful. These injuries... He shakes his head. I'll do what I can, but without proper equipment, proper blood supply... He trails off, focusing on stopping the bleeding from the worst wounds. Emil and I assist as best we can, following instructions. watching Colt's life balance on a knife's edge. Twice his breathing stops completely, and Vargas has to perform emergency resuscitation. During a brief moment of consciousness, Colt's eyes find mine. He motions me closer with the slightest movement of his fingers. "How many?" he asks, voice barely a whisper. At first I don't understand. "How many what?" "Peacekeepers." "How many did I get?" Despite everything, I can't help but smile. 13, I tell him. Out of about 50. Not bad for an old man who hasn't fought in half a century. A ghost of satisfaction crosses his battered face before he slips back into unconsciousness. Hours pass in the small clinic, the doctor working tirelessly to stabilize Colt's condition. Outside, the sounds of the city change and evolve. Distant explosions, the occasional burst of weapons fire, the growing murmur of crowds moving through streets that have been silent after curfew for decades. Emil alternates between helping the doctor and monitoring communications channels, bringing updates on the spreading uprising. Western Commons completely under civilian control, he reports at one point. Peacekeepers pulled back entirely from the outer ring perimeter. Corporate heights on lockdown. While Vargas continues working on Colt, I set up my equipment to document his condition and treatment. This too must be recorded, must be shared. Both the brutality inflicted on him and his impossible survival so far. "Why bother?" Vargas asks during a brief break, watching me adjust my recording device. He likely won't survive the night. "Because people need to see this," I answer. "All of it. The truth. In its entirety." He nods slowly, understanding despite his exhaustion. The last time, the first revolution, they controlled the narrative afterward, rewrote what had happened. "Not this time," I promise, thinking of our distributed network, the thousands of individual records being created and shared. This time, everyone gets to tell the story. Night falls over the city, but for the first time in living memory, the streets don't empty at curfew. From the clinic's small window, I watch people moving freely, gathering in growing numbers. News continues to flow through our communication channels. Corporate security forces in disarray, administration officials fleeing to secure compounds, ordinary citizens taking control of neighborhood after neighborhood. Sometime past midnight, I step outside briefly for air and to transmit my latest footage. The night sky glows orange in places where fires burn unchecked. The distant sound of celebration mingles with sporadic gunfire. This is the chaotic birth of something new, messy and dangerous and exhilarating. When I return inside, Vargas meets me with a grim expression. His condition is deteriorating, internal bleeding that I can't fully control without proper surgical facilities. He's fighting, but... I move to Colt's side. His breathing is shallow, skin ashen beneath the blood and bruises. The doctor has done everything possible with limited resources, but some injuries are beyond field treatment. "How long?" I ask quietly. Vargas shakes his head. "Hours, maybe less." "I'm sorry." Emil joins us, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. He's already done more than anyone could have expected. Changed everything. Maybe that's enough. But it doesn't feel enough. This man survived 47 years of silence and oppression, found the courage to stand when no one else would, endured unimaginable punishment. And now, with liberation finally beginning, he might not live to see it take hold. I take Colt's hand, careful of the intravenous line Vargas has rigged from veterinary supplies. His fingers are cold, but they tighten slightly around mine. His eyes open, focusing with visible effort. "Tell me," he rasps. I understand what he's asking. It's happening, Colt. Everywhere. The Peacekeepers have abandoned most of the outer ring. People are taking control of their own neighborhoods. The corporate administration is in full retreat. A slight nod, a ghost of a smile. Not just here, Emil adds, checking his device. Reports coming in from other cities. Your footage reached everywhere. The spark has caught fire across the whole country. Colt's free hand moves weakly, gesturing outside. "Take me. Want to see?" Vargas intercedes immediately. "Absolutely not. Any movement could—" "Please," Colt interrupts, the single word carrying more weight than a lengthy argument. "Need to see what we started." The doctor looks at me, at Emil, then back at Colt. He recognizes the request for what it is. A dying man's last wish. "A few minutes only," he concedes. "And we take the full medical support with us." Together, we prepare to move Colt. Vargas rigs a makeshift transport using a clinic gurney, maintaining the IV drip and adding portable oxygen. With extreme care, we maneuver him through the clinic's rear door and into the alleyway beyond. The full impact of the night's events becomes immediately apparent. The streets are filled with people. Not just angry protesters, but ordinary citizens of all ages. Makeshift barricades have been erected at strategic intersections. Corporate propaganda displays have been destroyed or repurposed with revolutionary messages. The atmosphere crackles with energy, fear and excitement and disbelief that this is actually happening. We move carefully through the crowd, people making way when they see our medical burden. Many recognize us Colt from the footage, expressions changing to awe as they realize who passes among them. Some reach out to touch him briefly, a gesture somewhere between reverence and reassurance. Word spreads ahead of us. It's him, the revolutionary. He's alive. We reach a small rise that offers a view across several sectors of the city. From here, the scale of what's happening becomes clear. The productive zones are alight with activity. Security barriers between sectors have been dismantled, and even parts of the corporate heights show signs of unrest. Lights flashing, movement where there should be none at this hour. "There," Emil says, pointing to a massive corporate broadcast tower. Its usual next-gen logo and propaganda displays have gone dark. As we watch, a new image flickers to life. The clenched fist symbol of the People's Reformation. The same symbol Colt kept hidden for 47 years. I glance down at Colt and see tears tracking through the blood on his face. His eyes reflect the distant fires, fixed on the horizon with an expression I can't quite read. Triumph, vindication, perhaps regret for the years lost to silence. "You did this," I tell him softly. He shakes his head slightly. "We all did. All of us who remembered." Around us, more people gather, gradually realizing who lies on the gurney. Their expressions show the power of the moment, witnessing the man who struck the first blow, who reminded them courage was still possible. "Will you fight for it?" Colt asks, suddenly, his voice surprisingly strong, carrying to those nearest us. "Will you remember the price of freedom?" A murmur of assent passes through the crowd. Don't just tear it down, he continues, each word clearly costing him effort. Build something better, something worth the blood. More people press forward, straining to hear his words. I step back, recording this moment. The dying revolutionary addressing the first citizens of a new era. The revolution never ends, Colt tells them, echoing the words from his stand against the Peacekeepers. You have to fight to keep it alive. Every day. His strength fading visibly, he gestures for me to come closer again. As I lean down, he grasps my hand with surprising firmness. Your turn now, he whispers. Don't make our mistakes. Vargas touches my shoulder urgently. We need to get him back. Now. Colt's condition has deteriorated rapidly, the brief excursion depleting what little reserves he had left. As we hurry back toward the clinic, his breathing becomes increasingly labored, his moments of consciousness briefer. Back inside, Vargas works frantically to stabilize him, but the decline continues. The internal bleeding, the trauma, the age of his battered body, it's all exacting its final price. Between emergency interventions, Colt surfaces occasionally to consciousness. During one such moment, he finds my eyes again. Something I never told anyone, he says, voice faint but clear. After the first revolution, I always kept a bullet. One last bullet. For myself, in case things went wrong again. In case I was too much a coward to fight. He pauses, gathering strength for his final words. I never thought I'd use all my bullets fighting instead. His hand finds mine once more, squeezing with the last of his strength. Worth it, he whispers. All of it. Worth it. His eyes drift closed again. His breathing grows shallower, then ragged. Vargas's expression tells me everything I need to know. These are Colt's final moments. But outside, the revolution continues to grow. Through the window comes the sound of people chanting, not individual slogans or competing messages, but a unified voice carrying a simple phrase I recognize from the histories of the first revolution. Liberty is a right, not a gift. The same words I painted on the wall the night Colt first saw me. The words that started everything. Dawn begins to break over the city. The first rays of sunlight filtering through smoke and dust. A new day for a different world. Vargas monitors Colt's vital signs with increasing concern, shaking his head subtly. He's still fighting, the doctor says with disbelief. Physically impossible, but he's still fighting. I take Colt's hand, again, leaning close to his ear. It's okay, I tell him gently. You can rest now. We'll carry it forward. I promise. His eyes flutter open one last time, finding mine. For a moment, I see past the broken body to the young revolutionary he once was. The 19-year-old who believed in something greater than himself. The scars, he whispers, glancing down at his hands. They never fade. They're not supposed to. His gaze drifts past me to the window, to the dawn breaking over the city. A ghost of a smile touches his lips as his eyes close. Outside, a new day begins. Inside, the final revolutionary of the old generation lies still, his fight finally complete. But the revolution lives on.
Darkness, then light, then darkness again. I drift between consciousness and something deeper, aware occasionally of voices, movement, pain that surges and recedes like tide against shore. Time loses meaning. Has it been hours, days, Fragments surface through the haze, Mira's determined face, the doctor's clinical touch, Emil's quiet presence, the sound of a city awakening from decades of enforced silence. During one period of clarity, I find myself being carried through streets filled with people, their faces turning toward me with expressions I haven't seen since the first revolution. Recognition, hope, determination. From a vantage point above the city, I see what we've started. Security barricades dismantled, corporate towers repurposed, the symbols of oppression coming down one by one. The clenched fist emblem rising where corporate logos once dominated. Did we really do this? Did I live long enough to see it happen again? You did this, Mira tells me, but she's wrong. One old man with an ancient pistol didn't create this uprising. I just reminded them it was possible. The pain grows worse as they return me to the clinic. Each breath becomes a battle, each heartbeat an act of defiance against the inevitable. But I've fought lost causes before. It's what revolutionaries do. Between moments of agony, I find strange peace. Memories surface, not just of the decades of defeat and silence, but of the early days, the hope we carried, the future we imagined, the comrades who stood beside me, who gave everything for a dream that was stolen from us piece by piece. I wonder if they would be proud or bitter to see it happening again, to know their sacrifices weren't completely in vain, just delayed. I feel myself fading. The doctor's efforts grow more desperate, less effective. Mira stays close, recording everything, ensuring this part of the story isn't lost either. Good. The truth matters. All of it, even the painful parts, especially those. There's more I want to tell her. Warnings about the aftermath, about vigilance, about the subtle ways revolution can be corrupted from within. But my strength is gone, words becoming harder to form. I managed to tell her about the bullet I kept, my coward's way out that became, in the end, just one more round spent fighting. I see understanding in her eyes. She won't make the same mistakes we did. Her generation has learned from ours. We'll build something stronger, more resistant to corruption. As dawn breaks outside, I feel the last of my strength ebbing, but I've done what I set out to do. After 47 years of silence, I found my voice again. I stood when standing seemed impossible, and now others stand with me. Through fading senses, I hear them chanting outside, the words I saw Mira painting that night, the words that awakened something long dormant inside me, a simple truth that those in power always try to obscure. Liberty is a right, not a gift. I look down at my scarred hands one last time, the physical record of a lifetime of fighting, surrendering, and finally fighting again, evidence of choices made and unmade. The scars never fade, I tell Mira as darkness closes in. They're not supposed to. She understands. The scars remind us. They teach us. They connect past to present to future. My vision fills with light, sunlight through the window, illuminating a new day for a different world, a world I helped create twice, though I won't live to see what it becomes. That task belongs to Mira now, to all of them. As consciousness slips away, I see them clearly. My old comrades waiting. Marco, Elena, Darius, Sophia, June, Raphael, Layla. They look just as they did the day we raised the revolutionary flag, young and fierce and full of conviction. Took you long enough, Layla says, extending her hand. I reach for it with fingers that are suddenly strong again, scarred but steady. Behind me, I leave the broken body that served its final purpose. Ahead, the next revolution waits, but this one isn't mine to fight.
Every story has an end, but there's always another waiting to be told. Subscribe to Steve's Stories for more sci-fi, dystopian, and war-driven adventures, from short tales to full novels. Like the video, hit the bell, and join me on this journey through worlds unknown.